Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to aim an alpha strike at the head of State of Decay. This is an open-world zombie survival game. Yes, another one. This was released on Xbox some time ago. This is the early access version, so they're very much saying it ain't ready yet. And I would agree, it's not. The problem is, since I haven't played the 360 version, it's difficult to know exactly how many of these issues are specific to the early access and how many of them are ported over, I suppose, from the Xbox. And more to the point, do they have any intention of actually fixing them? So this current early access version does not support keyboard and mouse. It only supports controller. So we will be using that for the time being. In the meantime, we will have a quick look at things. So obviously you're not going to find the ability to rebind your keys here. I have managed to do some menu control with the keys, which makes me think that maybe there is some basic keyboard functionality in there somewhere. And for instance, I can actually click the mouse, and that will access that menu, but I can't move the mouse on the menu. So it seems like they're in a state of actually getting this stuff in. Graphic settings are fairly minimal for the most part. You've got a couple of different settings available here. Min, spec, medium, maximum, and ultra. I am using maximum right now. Ultra, I have had some fairly severe frame drops. The game is clearly not optimized as of yet. Even in the starting area, I had drops below 40 at times. So I like to keep my experience at 60 or above pretty much all the time, so maximum spec is what I'm running on right now. But for the purposes of this video, I will run it on Ultra so that you can see the highest resolution graphics. Just be aware that we may see drops below 30, which is something that will be visible, certainly on YouTube. Alright, sound settings, separate sliders available, always nice to see. And you can also go between stereo and Dolby 5.1 if you happen to have that kind of system. So yeah, that's pretty much about it from the options menu here. Now, you might notice there is no multiplayer option. That is because it isn't a multiplayer game. It is a single-player game. I know there's a lot of assumptions when it comes to zombie survival about it being single or multiplayer, and most people would assume, yeah, it's going to be multiplayer, right? Not in this case. You are dealing with AI companions, which are surprisingly, well, they're actually pretty good. I mean, functionality-wise, they don't do dumb stuff, which I'm pretty happy about. So let's get into it. This is a good few hours in. I've spent quite a lot of time on this. Now, in this area on Ultra, it's already dropped below 30, so it's a little bit ugly. I might end up having to turn it back to maximum, because this is definitely not going to make it enjoyable at all. But welcome to State of Decay. So even on Ultra, it's definitely not the best looking game ever, is it? I believe Ultra is, for the most part, just putting a lot of fancy post-processing to the point where I'm actually just going to turn it off because it is hurting the frame rate so much, and I have no interest in allowing it to do that. There we go, that's much, much better. Now sitting around 70 frames per second. It's definitely not the world's best looking game. It is a $20 title from Undead Labs, published by Microsoft, so it's not like it's a AAA. So there are plenty, and I do mean plenty of issues with the graphics, but for the most part it's fairly easy to ignore a lot about the actual graphical fidelity of it because it is still a $20 game and it's a $20 open world title. Alright, well, so this is my home base right now, and it is asking me to build here, which I am having great difficulty actually doing right now. We shall choose a facility. We need to upgrade something. There we go. So we're going to set up a new sleeping area because we are lacking right now. So that will help with sleep deprivation. Now, you might be wondering why I'm doing all of this. Well, you've probably seen a lot of these zombie survival sort of mini RPGs, especially stuff like Rebuild. The kind of things that were either flash games or on mobile devices that really involved you just kind of building up a shelter and maintaining it, getting supplies and stuff like that. That's pretty much what this game is about, but you also have the actual scavenging and the actual third-person combat element in there as well. So you've got that full experience. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm managing our home base, which is a church that has been converted into a safe area. And I can put facilities in it, and they will give me a bunch of different benefits, and they will, as you can see, actually give access to either buffs or some permanent stuff here. So this will give you the ability to do research and things like that. I haven't got to that point yet, so there's certainly a lot of progression involved in it. Alright, we're going to set up a sleeping area, as they asked. That's going to take about 10 minutes here. Let's see if we've got any more space. Yeah, I think we do have one more. We could build a library. I think we've got the necessary for that. It might not be a bad idea. Alternatively, create a garden. Honestly, we've got lots of food anyway, so I don't need to worry too much right now about making one of those. Certainly wouldn't be terrible. All of these are affecting stats on characters. Now, a lot of these characters you actually have the ability to play. Interestingly, something that I did find to be quite intriguing is the notion that you don't necessarily have the ability to run around as one character all the time, because if you do, that character gets tired. It's a pretty cool idea, honestly, and it forces you to switch between characters. Strangely enough, though, you don't have the ability to properly manage the inventory of all of those characters in an easy way. If you actually want to do it, you've got to stash your stuff in the supply locker, which you can do with pretty much any item, and it will actually give you influence, which is the currency of the game. You can then take the item back for the same amount of influence, so you can stash stuff here, grab it later, and that's one way to make sure that you have items accessible to your other characters, but you don't have an easy way of giving them items. This is especially true when you are running with multiple characters, like you have AI companions, for instance, to come and help you out. It's kind of annoying, I've got to say. Alright, so you can carry a melee weapon, and you can carry, as you can imagine, a ranged weapon as well. You need to gather ammunition for that. Pretty easy to find for the most part, either that or just go to the stash. Admittedly, I imagine if you use too much of it, you could be in a great deal of trouble. And it's nighttime, which means the zombies outside that are trying their very, very best to get in here. Thankfully, they're not managing to do so at all. And that's that dealt with. The guard post there is doing a pretty good job of cleaning these guys out. And then we can finish them off. So, combat engine, what's it all about? Well, you've got a pretty standard third-person shooter kind of mechanic here. Nothing out of the ordinary. Aiming is quite snappy. Like, if you were to compare it to The Last of Us, it's actually significantly quicker. So you have a decent amount of accuracy. You will gain more as you gain skills. And then you've got a melee mechanic, which is basically mash X and Y. Y can be used to try and push down a zombie. When it's down on the ground, if you hold down the left bumper and then hit Y, which is a kind of a weird combination, but it is there anyway, then you will decapitate the zombie. And that's the way that you kill them. If you don't decapitate the zombie, or at least damage their brain to the point where they can't move anymore, then they will keep coming at you. Aiming for the head is obviously optimal, and shooting them in the body repeatedly is not really going to help you all that much. Now, there are vehicles in the game, as it turns out. Fuel doesn't appear to be a concern. It even mentions this on the home screen, actually, when you look at the resources you've got. If you go to have a look at fuel, it will say, yeah, we don't drive enough for fuel to be a concern for cars, but we use it for making firebombs and things like that. So, that's not really relevant at the moment. There seem to actually be quite a lot of cars in the game, even though the game keeps telling you that cars are a precious resource. Cars also make a lot of noise, which means you will attract zombies, but they are the best zombie-killing weapon you've got. You can run down entire hordes of zombies in a car, although the car will take damage. Eventually, stuff like the door will fall off, which will make it a lot easier for the zombies to actually grab you. So, it is a little tricky. Alright, so we're going to do a mission right now. So you're given side missions. Some of them are incidental. Some of them are time constrained in the way that you might think. You can't just leave survivors out there when they're under attack. They will eventually get killed, and then you'll lose the opportunity to actually do that. And then, of course, you've got the story-driven missions that will actually advance the story. And in this case, we've got a bunch of army guys that are clearly not doing anything useful whatsoever. It says leave the area. I'm actually considering just murdering them, because that would be a pretty effective way of gaining access to the stuff that's on that property. I wonder if I can. Will it actually let me do that? Will it let me kill another human being? So far, it hasn't let me do it, even when there's an AI companion around. But I would love to try this out. Let's see if I can just shoot his head off and then take what's inside this house. That would be pretty cool. That might be worthwhile. It's telling me to leave the area, but I really don't want to do that. Let's see what kind of freedom you can get here. Let's try and kill him. Aim directly for the head. I hate aiming with sticks. It's so horrible. No, can't kill him. That's a little disappointing, I've got to say. I guess because it is a story-driven mission, they don't let you, but, you know, if you wanted true freedom in that respect, like, say, Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl, then you would be able to just kill these guys and take their stuff. I think that's something that you might do. Maybe they're just going to... There's probably going to be a scripted way of getting into that, but hey, there you go. Unfortunate. Oh, well, never mind. Guess I can just grab one of the many vehicles around here and get out of here. Now, the survival element of this game is based primarily around scavenging. And there are various buildings that you can scavenge in order to get various items. Stuff like a tartan mart would probably be a little bit better for getting food. And then, of course, clinics, very, very good for getting medicine and things like that. You can actually acquire supply crates, which can be taken back to your home base, or you can radio for scavengers to come and get them if you have enough influence, there's enough people just lying around to actually do the job. And they will increase the resources you've got. See, these are food resources here. Now, what I can do is I could just radio for scavengers and tell the scavengers to actually come and get them. Or alternatively, you can just grab a backpack of the things and take them back. You can only carry one of those at a time. In this case, it doesn't really matter that much because we've got so much food, it's actually spoiling right now. So it's not that useful, but hey. Let's get rid of this zombie. There we go. So I haven't died yet in this game at any point, which is unusual, I've got to say. I kind of expected to, but it doesn't seem like the game is that difficult, at least not in the first few hours. Zombie hordes can be escaped quite easily in a car or just by running away, so that's not too big a deal. And for the most part, especially once you gain dodging and counterattacks, then you will be able to simply avoid them forever. You can just keep slaughtering them. The thing is that a lot of your melee weapons can break, so you do have to consider that, and you can't carry that much either. Even with a large backpack, I've got backpack space for, as you can see, 10 items there, which is not that many. So that also includes the weapons that you have equipped, by the way. So in reality, you really kind of have about 8 slots spare for stuff, which rapidly fills up. Plus, you can't carry a lot of weighty stuff either because you actually have a weight limit. Alright, Jude needs help. Apparently a runner is in trouble. Where is that? I'll head over in that direction. Grab myself a car. I've sent some scavengers over here. I can also set up an outpost there as well, which is useful because apparently that will generate resources that you can go around and collect, and you can also fortify the area and things like that. So you can see there's a lot of functionality here, an awful lot of it. The actual zombie combat is something I would call passable right now. You know, it's fine. It just lacks a little bit of variety, I suppose. There are 3 kinds of melee weapons: heavy, edged, and blunt. There we go. There's a zombie horde there, so we're going to get rid of them as quickly as we can in the car. That's the best way to do it. And you don't have a huge amount of moves. You can unlock some special moves, but a lot of them are actually passive, so it's not really that awesome. You're not going to be doing crazy kung fu and nonsense like that to try and kill zombies, which I guess is fine because that's not really what they were aiming for. They were aiming for more of the survival experience, and it's not like the combat system is bad, it's just not particularly interesting. The most interesting thing is sneaking around and scavenging in houses and things like that for items because you have no idea what you're going to get. And then, of course, progressing your house and building up your safe community and actually gathering characters. Now, you have to deal with a... Oh, hello. You have to deal with a bunch of other stuff like that. They will fight amongst themselves, which is a pretty terrible thing indeed. And you will lose morale and things like that. So you have to try and manage that as best you can, although, as far as I can tell, you can't directly deal with guys that are arguing with each other. You can't really solve the problem there. That you're not given any choices. You're just tasked with making everybody feel better to kind of get over it. And you usually do that by making sure that you have as many resources as possible. Alright, let's turn the flashlight on and get on here. What I will say about the graphics is that even though they don't look that great, you should, of course, bear in mind it's a $20 title, but they certainly don't look that great, but they do look pretty grim. They do a good job of looking grimy and things like that. Ah, stack of construction materials. I think I'll load these into my backpack and take them back myself. This is going to slow me down a little bit, but it's not too much of a problem. I'm going to try and loot this house for as much as I can get here. There's actually a huge amount of looting of houses and things like that. But anyway, as I was saying, it looks grimy, it looks dirty, it looks depressing. Yeah, post-apocalyptic is how I describe the look of it, and that's pretty good, honestly. What I will say is there's a lot of reused assets. You can go inside almost every house in the game, which, unfortunately, also means that those houses are more often than not very much repeated, yeah? So you're going to see the same design, and they're going to maybe shake things up a bit, but I've been inside like 3 or 4 industrial buildings that all look exactly the same, and things like that. So that kind of sucks, but it is to be expected. I mean, you are talking about scale of a small town, and you're also not talking about something that has the budget of something crazy like, say, Dead Rising, whereby they can model each of the individual stores. It's a big area as well. You can drive around a lot. What I will say is, of course, a lot of the map is also wasteland. It is still a fairly small town community. You're not exactly driving around a burgeoning metropolis. And more to the point, it does feel very, very empty. Now, that's deliberate. I don't think there's any real question about that. It is post-apocalyptic, so that's certainly to be expected. Most of the survivors are holed up in places. You're not going to see much activity outside of zombies, but hey, there you go. So what about the port? What are things feeling like so far? Well, the game definitely looks a lot better. You can just look at footage from State of Decay on 360, compare it to PC, and the PC version definitely beats it significantly. But there are still issues. There's a lot of texture pop-in and a lot of foliage pop-in, for instance, especially when you're driving down a road at high speed. You'll see things appear very quickly. The draw distance is less limited than the console version, but it is certainly still limited, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't know if I want to go in that general direction. Not yet, anyway. I think I'll probably just grab a car and head back. Take this zombie out. Oh, that's a screamer. Great. So, there are occasionally other zombie types, as you might imagine, that have different abilities. That was kind of to be expected. That house over there, the red house, is actually a infested house. So, I could go in there, but apparently it is full of screamers, which is not ideal. I do have an outpost over here. I could head in that direction if I want, but I'm going to grab this car and head back to home base because I've got some supplies I need to deliver. That's exactly what I'm going to do. There we go. Now, they're working on a construction project back at home, and they're requiring me to get stuff and things like that, so there are some nice little random events, and the game does have a sense of agency to it because the speed at which the game runs is relevant to how the game plays. As you go from day to day to day, you are going to be losing supplies. You need to be consistently going out and sorting things like that out. Morale is going to go down unless you do something about that. Yeah, I think you can understand how that kind of goes. And it's cool because what they've managed to do, finally, is to marry the two concepts together. Those games that I was talking about earlier that were just based on survival management, more so than... What are you... standing around... Okay... I'm not sure if we should let him survive. He looks a bit like a zombie. That's, I don't know about that. Alright, you can accompany me along. There we go. So yeah, they managed to marry that and the sort of third-person survival of killing zombies into a game that works... The two components work pretty well together. Yeah? I call it a bit of a genre bender, but that's not really true, is it? That honestly is the genre. It's a zombie survival genre. It's just that up until this point, not a lot of games have really done that all that well. So I like the fact that it gives you the ability to manage a little community and keep it safe. That's awesome. It's very, very cool indeed. So I'm going to go in this direction to do kind of a scavenger hunt. Evidently, there's nothing there. Oh, there's a library in that direction. Okay. I guess we can just head in on foot for this one. It's not too far away. Now, there is a stealth element as well. It's fairly robust. Zombies can detect you based on sound. Their sight isn't particularly good, so it's quite easy to sneak past them. As long as you don't make too much noise. Guns make a lot of noise. You can get kind of homemade suppressors that are good for a few shots, which will help you in that respect. But if you're going to use guns, then you should expect... Thank you, there we go. If you use guns, then you should expect to have zombies on your ass pretty damn quickly. And of course, if you make too much noise with combat, that's going to happen as well. You might notice skills going up there. There's actually plenty of those too. It talks about choosing a specialization, but I haven't figured out how to do that. Ah, there we go. Okay, so you press X to choose. Alright, I get that. Now I understand. Alright. It's a little strange. You would have thought you could just go to the page and then do it there, but apparently you have to hold down the X button. Okay. Well, I have now specialized in blunt weapons there. Not too shabby. And I can pick up a utility skill as well. A lot of the other stuff is passive, like fighting, for instance. You'll gain counterattack, and then you can choose a melee specialization and a special technique eventually, so you will unlock stuff at a fairly reasonable rate. Utility skill, which one? A slow shove, guaranteed to knock enemies down, a powerful kick that staggers the target. That could be pretty useful, actually. Shoving someone over guaranteed, that's not too bad. Wonder how you use it. So LB and Y is a powerful shove. Okay. That sounds good, because once a zombie is on the ground, you can pretty much kill them guaranteed, which is very, very useful indeed. So there have been some other problems that I've found with the game that definitely need to be resolved. Obviously, it's still in early access, but one of the worst things is zombies clipping through geometry in the level. I've actually had zombies submerged more than halfway into the ground, where I've only just seen their heads and their shoulders, and then they instantly pop out of the ground, and no, that is not a feature. There's definitely no question about that. So that is unfortunate. That's something that definitely needs to be solved. Zombies interacting with terrain in general, and to some degree survivors. I think survivors tend to do a better job of interacting with the terrain, but zombies in particular have a tendency to spaz out at awkward moments. It looks really stupid, and sometimes it can actually become problematic for dealing with zombies that are coming in an expected direction. You think, oh, we can't get over there, and then suddenly a zombie will instantly teleport to the top of an object and things like that, which is pretty bad. Not too big a fan of that. As you can see, you can barricade up here, which is a little bit weird because it summons planks out of nowhere. For such a resource-based game, you'd think the planks of wood would be an important resource, but apparently you could just barricade any window instantly with the hammer that you don't have in your inventory. It's a little bit strange, I've got to say. I guess it's just a convenience feature for the most part. Gathering planks and tools to actually barricade windows outside of your main home base is probably something that was going a little bit too far for the sake of enjoyable gameplay. Alright, so we're going to search through here and see what we can find. So what do I think of it so far? Well, I have sunk a good number of hours into it already. I just find driving around the town or sneaking around the town trying to salvage things to be very, very compelling. It's pretty damn cool. I have a feeling it will get repetitive very rapidly, because that seems to be what most of the game is actually based around. But I find the idea of being able to take back the town slowly, set up outposts in various areas, recruit survivors, make sure they are well trained up and they're well equipped, and just maintaining my little community to be a very cool experience, and being able to do that in a direct way is also very nice. And this is definitely not the first game to propose that, but it's one of the first games to come out that actually lets you do that in a way that is good, and that actually makes sense. Alright. I could establish an outpost here, I suppose. We could do that.
Maybe later.
Apparently not. You must fully search the location first before you can do that. I couldn't find anything else in here to look for. I wonder if Wyatt can help me. Nope, apparently not. I can swap out for him if I so desire. Just in case my guy gets a little bit too tired. The longer I keep going, you actually take these sort of semi-permanent damage to your health and stamina that can be sorted out by going back to the base and resting. Which is a pretty cool idea. You will eventually get more and more worn out. Alright, what have we got? Food resource, not bad. I think I'll probably send some scavengers out to get that. I can't be asked to carry it around.
I found some supplies.
There we go.
Send runners for pickup.
That should do the job. I could turn this into an outpost now if I want, but I'm not going to really do that. I don't think there's any reason to do that right now. But yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's, for the most part, nailed the vibe of zombie survival and the whole idea of maintaining a community. That's the most interesting part, I think. You know, killing zombies is not that much fun. In fact, killing zombies is one of the most boring things ever in most games. What's intriguing about the zombie survival scenario is the logistics of it. How do you feed people? How do you defend an area, a permanent, at least semi-permanent living space from the ever-present threat of zombies? It's a war that you know you can't win. It's a war for survival, not, in fact, a war to clear an area out. Speaking of clearing an area out, maybe we should go and try this Screamer area. I do have a shotgun and a lot of ammunition. I've also got someone helping me out. We might want to go try and clear out that infestation. It looks like there maybe are 2 Screamer zombies in here. Okay. We'll give that a shot. There we go. Tired already. That's unfortunate. Let's see if I can actually get another skill while I'm here. I did just level up something else. Powerhouse improved. Ah, class specializations, pro wrestling and double kill. Alright. Nice. That's pretty neat. I think that was a utility skill, so maybe I've just used that already. Alright, let's head in here and try and take the Screamers out, shall we? Oh my, okay, I think we need to open up with a shotgun in this situation. This is pretty ugly. Shotgun to the back. Ah! Reloading is really, really slow with this damn weapon. There you go, have some of that. He didn't like that. I don't think so. And we'll finish him off. Off goes the head. Hi. What's the problem? Everything's fine. Looks like we've cleared this area out, but it doesn't seem to believe that. Alright, there we go. I already know that people are absolutely going to adore this game. It's sold incredibly well on Xbox, and I've been talking about the idea of the desperation genre for so long. And it's very true, especially in the zombie survival genre, because there just isn't a lot when it comes to games that do it well. People want the experience of The Walking Dead, the survival. They want a camp of people. They want to be able to interact with the dynamic of the group and things like that. Zombie survival is kind of a social experience more so than anything else, which is, of course, a little odd, considering this... Ooh, a large backpack. I think I'm already using one of those, but I think we should take one, because I'm pretty sure I only have one of them total. So taking that back to the camp would be very useful. Alright, we're pretty much full here, so... Do I want to grab this bat? What's my weapon like right now? Oh, it's got plenty of durability. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm going to finish searching this area, see if there's anything worthwhile before we go back. It is that social experience, but I mean, maybe the game could have used a little bit more interaction in that respect, because all it seems to provide in terms of the social experience is you build up the trust of the people in that community. You can get the trust pretty quickly from a lot of them just by saving them from a zombie attack or whatever. Then they trust you, then they are your friend and things like that. But it would be nice to be able to have conversations with them, for instance, and make some choices. Doesn't seem like the game really has that, not from what I can tell. Ooh, now that would be useful. Yeah, so we should absolutely radio home for that.
Need to push back the zombies first.
Oh, do I?
On second thought, hold off. This place ain't safe.
I thought we got rid of the zombies. This guy's also getting my way. But for what it is, it's really, really good. Very competent. No real question about that. I'm going to make some noise, actually, by searching a little quicker. I want to attract some zombies here just so I can get rid of them quicker. I know it sounds weird, but as I said, zombies in a tight space like this with a good melee weapon, not really that big a threat. Maybe they should be a little bit more of a threat. Maybe it's just because I'm not far enough into the game yet that zombies aren't a really big threat. Because it would be nice to be kind of losing characters on a regular basis and have to deal with that and recruiting more characters to make sure you can still stay alive. But there's not really a lot of that, from what I can tell. I think maybe the game could be a little more difficult. Ah, yes. The famous couch zombie. That's what I was talking about with the geometry earlier. There's actually a lot of that in the game. It's really fun. As a zombie survival experience, is really good. I like it a lot. I think there are a lot of elements of the game that are merely competent and just kind of do their job. But frankly, that's okay when you have a compelling experience in general. And I think that's what this game provides. It's also surprisingly accessible for what it is. I'd say that there's definitely a pretty big, not so much learning curve when it comes to something like DayZ, for instance, or Warzy if it didn't horribly suck, but it's about the idea of spawning in the middle of nowhere with nothing and then just having no idea what you're doing. This game does a good job of explaining to you what you're supposed to be doing.
Let me see if I can make this place safer first.
Oh, crying out loud. Screw it, I think I'll just take it myself. There we go.
See you back at base.
Roger that. We'll be waiting.
Cool, so that supply run worked pretty well. Good, glad to hear that. Yeah, I can see myself playing a lot more of this. Definitely. They do certainly need to fix a lot of the problems. I think it should work just fine with keyboard and mouse. I don't see why not. I don't think there's really a reason to suggest otherwise. Controls certainly should work. They do have a lot of bug fixing to do, though. It's quite surprising that there are so many bugs in the port. I wonder if a lot of these were actually in the full version on the 360. There is a possibility of that. But what I'm hoping for is that this is a chance for them to fix all of those problems. I think that's pretty important. Would definitely be nice. But there you go, folks. Just a bit of look at State of Decay, which is currently on early access for $20, your regional equivalent on Steam. It's pretty good. Frankly, it is pretty good. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.